Peak Wealth Management proudly presents Finding True Wealth with certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat. Nick and Jim believe by making simple, good financial decisions, you can retire with confidence. And now, let's turn it over to your hosts, Nick and Jim.
Welcome everyone to episode 74. I am Jim Pilat, and I am change of seats today. I'm interviewing Nick Hopwood today regarding the 2020 Hopwood Financial Plan. This has become an annual tradition for us over the last couple of years. I think 2018 was
episode 26.
Okay, and then we did it again last year, which was episode
52.
Yeah.
But this one will be better because you are involved.
Okay, well, I don't know how it couldn't be any worse, yeah.
Before, it was just my monotone voice with no video.
Yeah.
Right. So now,
the
production value is going way up,
skyrocketing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. But no, this is a great opportunity for us to hear. Many of the clients always hear, "What should you do? What should I do with my money, Nick?" But I think everybody really finds a ton of value in hearing what you're doing with your money and what.
No doubt.
Are you putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
In these things. So
I had the idea of doing this kind of at the end of 2017. And I don't know what was the exact catalyst, but I was thinking about my past where people have said, well, maybe like an older woman says, would you put your mother in this in this strategy? Like, yeah, my mom is in the strategy. Come to think of it, and then people say, well, what are you doing with your money?
Right.
And it's the same thing that we recommend, right? And we're going to lay it all out here, and shocker, right? It's not that much different than 2019 or 2018. But so you probably, if you've heard last year, you might want to just turn it off. Okay, I'm just kidding. But this one will be.
Then they would miss my interviewing debut.
Right.
So
that's right. So this one will be much more entertaining. Right.
Of course.
But also, right? I have a lot of advisor friends, and I have to say, right? They're not all. Full disclosure, right? Some of them are. They're not all doing what they recommend, and it's very disheartening and disappointing.
Yeah, that I can say from my experience as well that is not always the case. So this is really valuable. This shows you exactly what you really believe in. If you're going to do it with your own money, you know it's important. Yeah,
you won't find me working at age 79 because I need the money, right? Because I'm doing all the right things now.
Right.
So I can hopefully retire with confidence at a comfortable age.
Right. So why don't you start telling us about kind of the basics, the basis of the plan. What are the things that are the must-dos, the beginning stages of the plan?
Well, the first thing is making sure you have enough cash, having enough emergency fund. So we carry the 6 months of expenses in cash because my wife is not working, right? And we're self-employed. So cash is really important. Not only do I have to have cash in the personal bank, but also in the company bank, right? And so, we're responsible for, quite a chunk of monthly costs, and it has to be there in safe cash.
Right.
So you have to have the 6 months. And I tell people, if the husband and wife are both working, you can get away with 3 months because if one loses their job, you still have the other.
True.
But for a single earner, it's got to be 6.
Yeah. Should we be worried about the rate of return on that money?
Yeah, absolutely. To make 0% or 0.01 is not good enough.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, some banks will offer promotional rates. You have the online banks,
right,
which are safe and offer a good cash balance return. We have the new Peak Money Plus, which offers a nice FDIC safe money return. And then you have Ameritrade money markets that we can buy, and short-term bonds. And short-term bonds, they're over 2%, right? And this is not a recommendation of any specific investment, but 2% is a lot better than 0.1.
Yeah.
And if it only takes 3 days to get your money back, I'm sold on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have a lot of cash.
Okay.
A lot of cash. But make sure it's making a couple percent.
Right. It's important to still be efficient with it, even though it's there for emergencies. Okay. What about first of the month? What are some habits that you have come first of the month?
Well, you teed me up perfectly here because you know that the answer is we track our expenses and we update our net worth statement on the first of the month. I was on the radio with Michael Spath last week. We're talking about the Michigan-Alabama game on January 1st. We were fortunate enough to be in Orlando for New Year's, so we went to the game, right? So my alarm is going off on January 1st at like 7 a.m. Update your net worth statement and balance sheet and expense tracking. So was I doing it at that moment? No. But when I filled it out, I was very pleased because last year was a great year, right? For virtually all investments, last year was a great year. So I'd encourage you, hey, go back and look at the end of 18 and the end of 19, compare the two, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think the net worth tracking is tremendously helpful, but even the expense tracking, we go back to it all the time, but how valuable is it to be able to go back and see when expenses start to get out of whack, right? Or lifestyle creep. We've talked about lifestyle creep, right? And it's a way to really see that taking place.
You have the pre-cottage expense set up and the post-cottage expense set up, and it's dramatically different. Okay?
Right.
It's called lifestyle creep.
Right.
I don't know which episode that was, but it was a fun one.
Yes, it was. Okay. What about credit cards? Do you have any thoughts on credit cards?
Well, we don't carry any credit card balances.
Okay.
But we do spend personally and with the company with the credit card to earn miles and points. So for years, I want to say 10 years, we were using the Delta American Express card, and we've switched over to the Alliant Visa card because the American Express is like a 1% reward for miles, and the Alliant one is 2.5% cash.
Okay.
So it's real cash, and it's 2.5 times more. And for the first year, it's actually 3%.
Nice.
So I just found this out by just Googling, high cashback credit card.
Okay.
So there's, and also, I mean, we're going to keep our American Express because we fly Delta quite a lot, and you get the free bags and all that.
Sure.
But 3% versus 1% was compelling. And oftentimes we run into places that don't take American Express, and it really makes me mad.
Right.
It's very upsetting to me because I don't carry around a lot of credit cards.
Right.
I just have my Peak wallet.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Very handy.
And how many cards do you fit in here? Like your license, your credit card, debit card.
Yeah.
A $20 bill.
You're starting to push it at that point.
Right.
3 or 4 things.
Do I need to have in my American Express and a Visa?
Yeah.
You run out of time, or you run out of space.
Right.
So the cashback is good.
Right. What about on a monthly basis? Scheduled, regularly occurring savings?
Yeah, I like to do things systematically. So every month is the same. Or I guess some people would call me boring like that, but I don't want to have to make a decision each month on what to do. Okay. So the new limits for 2020 for the 401k is $19,500. Right. So we just calculate that out, divide it by 12, and that's the monthly contribution to the 401. The match takes care of itself. My wife and I both do the $19,500, and then the HSA. So we have a high deductible health insurance plan.
Okay.
It's a $13,000 deductible, which allows us to contribute to the HSA of $7,100. Okay. So that's set up monthly. So it's like not quite $600 a month. We get the tax deduction. We invest the money at Ameritrade, and we will have that money tax free in retirement. Right. So if we go to the doctor, I pay with my new Visa card. Okay.
Yes.
I get 3%, and then we pay it off each month.
Right. And then just reminding everybody the strategy on that is to not put it in the HSA and pull it right back out to pay for the bills, right?
Exactly.
It's to take advantage of the growth on it.
Yeah, so it took me a while to figure that out, actually, where we were doing it the wrong way for many years, and it's regrettable. But now we've got like 3 or 4 years worth of accumulation in the HSA, and it's starting to snowball. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that we do, and this is one thing that it's not systematic each month, it's just a one-time deal. Okay. It's a Roth IRA backdoor conversion.
Okay.
All right, so you put money into non-deductible IRA, and for someone under age 50, the limit is $6,000. So we put that into the Ameritrade IRA.
Okay.
And then the next day we convert it to a Roth. And so there's no income rules on any of this strategy, and there's no tax due because you're just converting a non-deductible after-tax IRA.
Right.
So we do this for my wife and myself.
Right.
Okay, so that's a great way to go with the Roth.
It's a great strategy.
Now, another strategy to get money into Roth besides a Roth IRA is a Roth 401k if it's offered. Now, Peak does offer a Roth 401k, but we just really need that deduction right now, that the double pre-tax.
Right.
Now, you do the Roth, right?
I do. Yeah, I do contribute to the Roth IRA. I think there's a ton of benefits to it, and being a saver early on saved a ton of money pre-tax before Roths were really popular and available. And now that I have the option to do both, I definitely take advantage of trying to build up that Roth bucket of money.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do each month is we add money to our joint brokerage account.
Okay.
So the reason why this is important, because we have that pre-tax amount that we talked about, then we have the healthcare amount, then we have the Roth, right? These are they all have their own place, right? The pre-tax one we're saving tax today. HSA we save now and later, but it's really that health, because healthcare is going to be a real problem.
There'll be an expense there.
Yeah. The Roth is tax-free later on. Okay. The joint account, right? This can be used, it has different taxation, capital gains only, but it can be used for anything. It can be used for college. It can be used to buy something, a boat.
Fun.
It can be used for retirement.
So
no
strings
no
attached.
Rule.
Yeah.
No strings attached.
Like
no red
retirement
tape.
money.
But there's no tax incentive.
Right.
But if you manage the taxation properly, you can have 15% capital gains, which is nice.
Right, and to pick up all that flexibility of being able to use it for whatever and whenever without having to worry about a certain age, being 59 and a half or anything like that.
Yeah, so like a lot of people, they find themselves in their 60s, right? They have Social Security, maybe a pension, maybe, and they have a great big IRA. Well, if they need money, they have to pull it out of the IRA and it's fully taxed.
Right.
But if they use their joint brokerage account, maybe they can be particular with what they sell and owe no tax, which that can then open up other doors like the sweet spot for the Roth conversion.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Get some money out of that IRA into the Roth with paying little or no tax.
Right.
So I have visions of what we can do with that in the future. But I want to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
And if you want to retire before 59 and a half, what do you need to do?
It's a must, right?
Yeah.
You have to have that. There's something available. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you've done with life insurance.
Yep. So I'm a big believer in term. We have a couple $1 million in term life insurance. It's like each time you have a kid, you like buy a new policy.
Right.
So it's cheap. It was from years ago when I was younger and healthier. I might have to go on some high blood pressure medication here, so that might be a strike against me today.
Right.
But it's really cheap and affordable. The money that you save, then you can use to put into a Roth IRA or something like that. But in 2018, what we did was we decided to buy a cash value investment life insurance type policy where you put in money each year and it's invested. Okay. So it's kind of pitched like as a supersized Roth. So it's not for everyone.
Okay.
All right. It's only for people that are going to be 100% committed to it. People that have a buffer of cash flow where they know they can do it. Right. And someone really who believes in that tax benefit. Okay. So the idea is that if we put it in for like 22 years was our plan, that between say 65 and 85, there can be a nice tax-free benefit coming out.
Okay.
And that's the plan. And then the life insurance will be there kind of as a burial policy. The insurance is not there for the insurance. It's there for the investment part.
You bought it for the cash value, not the insurance. Yeah. So this is something, if you're starting a young family today, right? You're 30 years old and have your first kid on the way. Is this something that people should be looking at?
No, I would just put them in a term policy, like a 20-year term.
Yeah.
Because in 20 years, the kid's going to be finishing college, right? And maybe you're self-insured, right? Maybe you don't need any coverage anymore. When my terms expire, I don't even know which years. Probably like 2000. Okay, so Hunter was born in 2007 plus 20. So there's probably like 8 more years left on some of these. Okay. Maybe 10 more years. I'm not going to keep those going. I'm just going to let them go.
Right.
They'll be gone.
They cover you during the crucial period.
Yeah.
And then once you have had that 20 years to continue to accumulate and grow savings.
Self-insured.
You're self-insured.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Very good. And now talk to us a little bit about real estate, because I know you're a big believer in, obviously, diversify investments when it comes to retirement accounts and so forth, but you took it one step further and looked at it as a way of diversifying your overall portfolio and your overall situation.
Yeah, I'd like to say our income is tied, right? We charge fees on portfolios and financial planning, and that's largely tied to the public markets, right? My portfolio is tied to the public markets. Because the income is tied, that means the value of the whole enterprise is tied, right? So everything is tied to the markets.
Right.
So we wanted to have a way to diversify away. I witnessed my in-laws have success in real estate, so they showed me the formula that worked for them. And so we kind of ran with it, and we acquired some properties starting like 2005.
Okay.
Wish we would have done more, in 09, 10, 11.
Yeah,
but we were scared like other people. So we've maybe picked up 1 or 2 a year on average, and usually duplexes kind of style.
Okay.
But that's the idea. Last year, though, we did not do anything rental wise. But that's probably because we bought a cottage property. Okay. So this is not revenue producing. Okay, I want to be clear about that. In fact, you should check out episode 60 before you consider doing something like this. Okay,
but it is fully occupied through the summer. Is that correct?
Yeah. So right now, making a mortgage payment, property taxes are due in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
very painful.
Right,
and just a complete drag.
Right.
But like May 30th, right? We're gonna move out there.
Yeah.
And stay there until August 30th.
Right.
So that's 3 full months where we can live on the lake.
Right.
And we're able to do this because it's only 38 minutes from here.
Okay.
So I can swing that back and
manageable.
forth.
Yeah.
My normal drive is 20 minutes, kind of double, not so bad.
Right. So back to the rental real estate. At what point do you think it's something that people should consider? What situation should they be in life to think that this might be a good next step for them?
Well, you know how when we're doing our planwithpeak.com, we put the retirement plan on the screen. We say, look, we're assuming that this portfolio is making 5%, just to make up a number, right? Something reasonable. And we work through the next 50 years for these clients, or 30 years, and we say, if this portfolio can average 5%, here's how it's going to look. Right. So I kind of like to say sometimes it doesn't matter how we make the 5%. We just have to make the 5.
Right.
So you can do it in stocks and bonds and real estate and whatever. Okay. Your own business that you might be reinvesting in. Some people like to flip houses. Some people like to do rentals. Some people, some people, they do art, right? Like they do sports collection. Like, let's just make 5% on our money. Right. I don't care how you do it. The most common is through the markets, right? But with real estate, some people are just kind of drawn to it, right? Some people, maybe they're not good at it, but they're drawn to it, and then they should stay away, right? They should try and defer that scratch, right? But if it's compelling, they're good at it, they can deal with the tenants, and they can find a good deal. Well, then what's the harm, right? The benefit is you can put down the downstroke, let's say 20%, and then the tenant pays off the other 80%.
Right.
Now, you have to deal with some BS along the way. Like this morning, I was on the phone with the 53rd District Court.
Okay.
For eviction. Okay.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
It sucks.
Some of the trials that can come along with it, huh?
Yeah. right? So, I mean, I don't know why people think that they can live for free. I don't understand.
Right.
But when you receive $50 for December rent and $0 for January, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
You know, it doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for anyone.
Right.
So those are some of the problems that you run into.
So because real estate is not as liquid, right, as stock markets, do you think people should have a certain net worth threshold or anything that they should strive for before they dive into that?
I think I wouldn't necessarily say a net worth threshold, but a reserve. Okay, you have to have cash.
Okay.
Because when you buy the place, you have to put money down. You can't go in $0 down. It's not going to work. You have to put money down. Then you have to be ready for lost rent. You have to be ready to replace the furnace and the hot water heater and paint and flooring. Never use carpet in a rental. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to do all these things, and they all cost money. Right. So you have to have a reserve built up, just like what we talked about at the beginning. So I don't know if it's a net worth requirement as much as a liquidity requirement.
Okay. No, that's very helpful. Very good. Well, I think this
one more thing on real estate. What drives me crazy is people have these rentals that are poor performers, and they're not willing to evaluate it like with math.
They get attached to it somehow.
Right, like somebody says, well, I have this property which is worth, let's just use easy numbers, $100,000, and I have a profit of $3,000 a year from that.
It's not a great.
It's not working for me.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to, with rentals, there's always going to be extra costs that eat away at that 3%. So we want to have a 10% target at the start.
Okay.
And I can show people how to do that, how I do it. It's so simple, but I can show people how to do it from my point of view. And if everything goes perfect, you make the 10%. But inevitably, things are going to come up, and you're going to make less than the 10.
Right.
Like a furnace, a missed rent, right? Whatever it is.
Right. Roof leaks or who knows what, right? There's always something
have to call Chuck.
pop up, right?
Yeah,
Chuck will get it done. Yeah.
He'll get it done, but it's going to cost you,
Yeah. There's always a cost, right? Okay, so as we're starting to look forward to 2020, we're still really early in the year. Anything that you're thinking about doing differently, or anything that's on your radar is maybe something new, or maybe that people should be considering?
For 2020, well, the one thing that's on my mind, right, is we got that cottage, okay? So, we bought it right, okay? I felt like it was bought right, but it was still expensive, right? And so there's debt that's tied to that, okay? So I'm really hammered. I'm really motivated to pay stuff off, right?
Okay.
So we're going to keep doing. My philosophy personally is build assets, right? 401, HSA, Roth, brokerage account, life insurance, all these things. It's like cruise control. It's the same every month.
Right.
But the debt, right? I want to have that same concept of the same payment every month. So I'm always telling people, right, don't do a 30-year mortgage. I like the 15. Well, right, I have high standards and high goals. So I put everything on a 10-year. And then we try to pay extra on the 10.
Okay.
Right. So, maybe with any luck, it could be a 5-year, right? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But the goal is to pay down debt, okay? And then I practice what I preach, right? I put everything on planwithpeak.com for myself, and we have, the values of the portfolio, expenses, college expenses, which we're doing $500 a month for each kid still.
Okay, good. Okay. The 529s, yeah.
So I always preach from birth to age 21, $500 a month.
Okay.
We have, the value of this business and everything as part of our plan, like any small business, like we would do for any small business owner. And, I have 100% probability for success. Okay. And that's what I want. I would have it any other way. If it came up, let's say retirement goal of 65, right? 65 is really important because of Medicare.
Yeah.
We used to say 62 is really important because of Social Security.
That's when Social Security starts, yeah.
But now, the whole health insurance fiasco, you need Medicare at 65. And you probably need to delay your Social Security to be later than 62, right?
To get the higher payout.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing some exciting things with Social Security. But let's just say if I ran it for 65 and it had an 80% probability of success, well, I would be making changes today.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I would be making changes right now to make sure that it's 100% probability.
Yeah.
Or if I couldn't somehow make the change, I would change my mindset with my assumptions and say, hey, it's got to be a 67 retirement for me if you want to have it all.
Right.
And otherwise there's sacrifice, right? Whether it's housing, whether it's cash flow, vacations, right?
Right.
Out to eat, right?
But it's about identifying that sacrifice early so
Yeah.
that it's you can make the adjustments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm 40, so I have 20 plus years. And if you make a 1 degree change with 20 years,
Yeah.
it makes all the
It
difference
can
in
be
the
very
world.
powerful. Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Let's see. Yeah, okay, so if we do a bonus, right, I put that on the mortgage, right, to help accelerate that.
So can I ask you a follow-up question on that? So a lot of times, and we'll hear this from time to time, as people say, well, look, my mortgage is only 4%,
I don't care. Yeah.
but the stock market earned me 20% this year.
It doesn't matter to me
Yeah.
because the 4% is guaranteed. Okay. If you find yourself with too much leverage, you can be sunk.
Yeah.
Okay. In 2008, in 2009, when your income drops and your portfolio drops and you're not, with our debt, it's tied to these properties, right? And guess what? John on Garfield Street lost his job, so he's not paying rent this
So
month.
the rent's not coming in.
But
Yeah.
guess what's still due? That
Mortgage.
mortgage payment is still
Yeah.
due. Okay. So I believe strongly and firmly in managing your debt, and beyond all else, number one goal should be no debt in retirement. Okay.
Yeah.
So right, I'm 40 and I have this 10-year plan. So that takes you to 50. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But I even pay extra because I just don't like it. Okay, it's the Dave Ramsey part of me.
Right.
I just don't like it, and I don't care because I know that we're not going to make 20% every year. You know, I know we're not.
Right. I think it's an often overlooked conversation piece when coming to debt is that there's risk attached to debt. Right?
Yeah, right.
Purely if you evaluate debt on a mathematical basis, that's where people have these conversations about should I pay off the debt or should I keep it invested, right? But when you bring risk into that conversation, the story changes.
And it's also, you could have a 4% great, maybe 3% great low rate, but it's still $1,000 a month or whatever, you know. And people forget about that. It's a big monthly amount, and
Impacts
it's
cash
actually
flow, yeah.
it's more than $1,000. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so you have to pay back the principal part, and it's all about that monthly. Every month it's due, you know, and so it just adds risk, and I don't want it.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Very good to hear.
Well, hey, do you want to throw in anything? Like, what are you thinking about for 2020 for the Pilat household?
It's exciting that 401k contributions have gone up.
Yeah.
So it's nice to look at taking advantage of the maxing out on those. So people who were aiming to max out before, making sure they step up a little bit on that.
And the difference between max and match, is there a difference or is it the same?
Yeah, it's a common question, right? The max is 19.5 for those under 50 and 26. Yeah, 26,000 for those over 50 with the catch-up. That is the maximum contribution, not the maximum contribution to get the match, which is what we hear so often. People think, well, I get 3% if I contribute 3%, so they contribute how much? 3%.
Yeah. How about this one? Well, my company doesn't contribute, so I'm not in.
Yeah, not interested in saving, right? Yeah, there's reasons to save beyond just what a company may or may not give you for doing it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up for the Hopwood 2020 financial plan.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate your transparency and letting us see into your world, and I think we can all take away a lot of benefit and knowledge from it.
Yeah, it's a CFP plan for a CFP by a CFP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
That's
I think
great.
most people, the clients who are listening to this, will realize that everything you said lines up with everything that you've been telling them.
We want to be genuine and authentic and transparent, right? I wouldn't, have it any other way.
Right. Excellent. Well, thanks for giving me a chance to drive the ship here for a little bit.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You've been listening to certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat on the Finding True Wealth podcast, sponsored by Peak Wealth Management. You can learn more about Peak Wealth Management by visiting peakwm.com or follow on Twitter at nhopwood1.